Hey everybody, it's Dr. Mark with US 1061. We are on the road. I'm out with Jeanette Robinson, and also we're here with Lieutenant Joe Kenda. So we did a teaser from the restaurant a few weeks ago, and now we're out here actually. We're at the Ponderosa de Kenda.
Yeah, there
Up
you
here
go.
it says the Rancho Costalada. So we're at an undisclosed location, and we drove quite a bit. You know, we can still call you a local, but you're not as local as I thought you were to Virginia Beach, that is.
No, exactly right. I'm about 50 miles.
There we go. So anyways, we made it out here. Fantastic day. The rain has stopped for us, and we're really happy to be here. We were able to sit down and have lunch. We've been chatting ahead of this interview and all that, so we have a bit of a game plan. We may go off cuff a little bit, but anyhow, I wanted for Joe to tell you a story that kind of, when I first met you, it was about cars, because the Coastal Virginia Auto Show is my introduction to Joe Kenda. Past that, yes, I've been able to go back and forth and see some of your work that you've done. We've seen the books that you've written, so we're going to talk about those things as well. Jeanette has known you for quite a bit longer, so why don't you tell us how long you've known Joe?
It's been quite a few years now.
Yeah, it is.
And it started with, actually, I had watched the show, The Homicide Hunter, for years and loved it. And I think it went for 9 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So I was at the radio station, and somebody says that Joe Kenda is in our studio cutting a commercial. And boy, did my eyes get wide. And I'm like, really? No, not the Joe Kenda from The Homicide Hunter? Yes, indeed he was. And he was working with my
eye doctor,
yes.
who's a nice girl, and she needed some help, and I said, I'll do it for you.
It was fantastic, and that's when we met, and I invited him to come to the show, and he's been there 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And boy, do people come out to see him. So the great news is that he'll be back this year. He'll be there on Saturday afternoon, which is November 13th. And so mark your calendar, because you don't want to miss it.
Hey everybody, it's Dr. Mark with US 1061. We want you all to come out to the Coastal Virginia Auto Show. We're going to be packed filled with awesome celebrities, including Lieutenant Joe Kenda. He's your homicide hunter. And he also has a new series out there called American Detective. He will be up on stage telling some of his great stories in the manner that he does. So check him out on Saturday, November the 13th. And if you stick around, you'll be able to possibly get an autograph and maybe a photo with Lieutenant Joe Kenda. He'll also be speaking on his previous books that he's had, so be sure to bring a book out, and maybe he'll be able to sign one of those books for you. So be sure to check us out on the Coastal Virginia Auto Show, cvautoshow.com, cvautoshow.com. Again, what I want to bring you back to is that there's a yellow Corvette that is of existence.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to take us back to when you first figured that you wanted that car, and also what the process was of picking it up was.
Oh, it was great. I gave a speech to the Southwestern Kentucky Crime Stoppers group in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where they manufacture the Corvette, the only place where they manufacture Corvettes. And while I was there, when I gave this speech, it was a fundraiser. By increasing the audience, it brought in a lot of money for the Crime Stoppers group. And I went past the capacity of the place by 200. So they were very pleased, because people were standing room only to attend this thing.
Outstanding.
And one of the guys there was the plant manager, the Corvette plant manager. So after the speech was over, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'd like to, hey, great." And he said, "You want to tour the plant?" Yeah, there's a kid that likes candy. Want to go to the candy company? Yeah, I do.
You got it.
I've always loved cars. I told my wife, we've been married a long time, and I said, we've had more cars than we've been married in terms of numbers.
Uh-huh.
And I said, it could be women and whiskey. It's cars. Leave me alone. You
Yes.
get to ride in them, you get to drive them, and it's great. So off I go, because Kathy wasn't with me. The next day, I'm at the place at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
We tour the museum part, with the one that collapsed. They had already repaired it by the time I was there.
Right.
And recovered most of the cars they could recover. And they had the gift shop where they sold things for outrageous prices without difficulty, apparently. And then, of course, the plant.
Right.
So he says, there's one more thing I want to show you. So we go outside, we get in this vehicle, and we drive over to what is a 3.4 mile road track on the property. Pull into this building. This kid comes out in a Nomex suit.
Right.
And he says, this is Danny. He's the chief driving instructor for General Motors. He's going to take you for a ride on that course in a production Corvette, and you're going to drive.
There we go.
Do you want to do that? Oh my God, yes. I want to do that. So off we go. We get in this car. It was a beautiful car. So it was a C7, and just off the line, just a car that they were using. So this is a production car, nothing special about it. The only difference is we put a racing harness seatbelt in it for this use on this track.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's the car. Okay. So let's go out in the parking lot. I want you hard left, hard right. I want to get the tires hot. I want blue smoke. Give me blue smoke. And I'm turning this thing and I'm getting the tires hot. All right. So now we're going to go out here on the track. If you listen to me and you do what I say, you're going to love this. You have no time to question me, and I will not answer any questions. I'm just going to talk the whole time we drive.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you what to do. You good with that? I said, you bet. Go out here, turn left at that pylon, and we're on the track. So I went out, I turned left at the pylon, he looked at me, and he smiled, and he said, now hammer this bitch. And off we went, okay? We're coming up to the first curve as a hairpin. Give me brake, give me brake, give me more brake, and around this turn, and so the guy never shut up.
Right.
He said, go to the right line, the blue line is the apex of the corner, give me the blue line, the blue line, the blue line. Now hard left, another blue line, give me blue line, and off we go, right?
Right.
The first time on the straightaway I did 157 miles an hour.
Okay.
Wow.
The second time I did 178. And the third time I did 190.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
he said, you have a future in this car. And I said, yes, I do. And I ordered one right then and there.
Fantastic.
And picked the car up and drove it and got to the point to where I had to crawl in and out of it.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Life catches up to us, doesn't it?
It does. And I didn't have an orthopedic surgeon that was willing to ride with me all the time to get me in and out of the car. So I asked my son, you want this car?
Right.
Excuse me? I said, you want this car?
Right
oh
on.
my God. So he's driving it. Good for him.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. I
Okay.
did get to ride in that car at one point.
Yes,
too.
you did.
There you
Yes,
go.
it was awesome.
So again, I've heard some of that story before. I got some highlights again. So we appreciate that. What we're going to do now is that Jeanette and Joe are going to take us a little bit deeper into kind of what's going on and what's new with Lieutenant Joe Kenda. So again, there's a book out there, another book out there. So and then also the new series that you're getting ready to start shooting your second season for. So anyhow, you guys stay tuned. I'm gonna let them kind of take over because they got the history and also we really want to learn more about what's going on with Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back with you.
We're back now, and Joe's going to tell us a little bit more about that Corvette, and we're going to talk about Mr. Joe Kenda, Lieutenant Joe Kenda. So, Joe, tell us about that.
So they invited me back for a second time because I made so much money on this project that it more than quintupled what they normally make when they have an event. So they were very pleased. So they wanted me to come back. So this time I brought Kathy, my wife. We went to the track, went to the plant, went to the museum, did the same thing all over again. Met Danny again, the driver, and he said, I'm going to take your wife for a ride. I said, she doesn't want to drive. She'll go with you, and you drive. Now, Danny is a professional race car driver, and he drives like one. He's a remarkable driver, and he uses the paddle shifters on the wheel. He doesn't mess with the gear selection. He does the pedals, and he can drive. That's what he does. And he had her rocking around that track, and they were smoking. And she loved it, loved every minute of it. And he was a blur when he came by on the straightaway. But he drives that track every day, so he knows it extremely well. But she was very impressed with that car. It is an impressive machine. In order to get it something more powerful, more responsive than a Chevrolet Corvette for 75 or 80 grand, you got to spend 200 up and be on a 3-year waiting list and buy something Italian to get something quicker. It's a remarkable piece of American engineering, I think.
It's beautiful.
It always has been. It always has been. It still is. Good for them. One more Corvette story.
We love Corvette stories.
She and I are in New Mexico. We're on Interstate 25 coming back from Santa Fe. Kathy likes to go to the art galleries there because she paints and she's sold her paintings. So she sees what the competition's doing when we go to these galleries because Santa Fe is a huge art market. We're coming back and it's night. New Mexico has state police. Most of the West does not have state police. They have highway patrol and sheriff's departments, but in New Mexico they have state police. So we're coming up I-25 and I am hauling. And she's reading a book. And bing, 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 we had stopped. There's a female officer. She walks up to the car. She said, "Do you know how fast you were going?" I said, "If that speedometer is accurate, 136 miles an hour." She said, "It's accurate. Let me see your license and registration." I said, "Okay." Well, I carried my license in a badge case. And she looks in there. She said, "What's the blue ID?" I said, "You know what it is." "Let me see it." So I gave it to her. She said, "Well, slow down, Lieutenant." And she laughs. Kathy goes off on her. "That son of a bitch never gets a ticket. He shows that goddamn badge." And she starts laughing. And she said, "Is that your wife?" I said, "She was until 2 months ago, yeah."
That's good.
Tell him why. Tell him why I went off.
Because it's true.
No.
Actually, it's not. Because 2 weeks before that event, she got a ticket for a rolling stop sign. And I chipped at her because it was an opportunity. I mean, never, ever give anybody a break, right? So I went after her like a snake, for having this ticket. And the next thing that happens, of course, I'm doing something flagrant, as they say, in the traffic enforcement world. And nothing happens, of course. But she was somewhat unhappy about that.
136. That's awesome.
That is flagrant. Yes, it is. That same car, I was going through the Monument Valley Indian Reservation, Navajo, and I am doing about 150 on this 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. And I look way up in front, there's a pickup truck, yellow and white. Old pickup truck sitting on the side of the road. I thought, "That's not a cop." I just kept running. I get closer, I see a visibar on the roof. And the guy's leaning on his hand out the window, like this. And I dropped my foot out of it, but when I passed him, I was probably doing 130. And I rocked his truck with the wind blast from that Corvette. He never moved. I'm sure he thought, "No. By the time I catch you, you're going to be in Indiana." He just kept leaning on his hand like that. And so dodged a bullet there. He never moved. So I was lucky.
Have you ever gotten a traffic ticket?
Oh, I have, yeah. Sure I have.
Wow. Since you've been a detective?
Yeah, in Wyoming. Cost me $200 to go through 100 yards of Wyoming once. But these things happen, They don't have a death penalty for speeding, so you're okay.
I can't believe someone actually gave you a ticket.
Someone did, young kid, said, "Hey, you're doing your job." Whatever. Didn't bother me.
Yes, it did. He was pissed.
Yeah, I was.
I bet.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, you're going to start filming again?
I am.
A couple of weeks?
End of June, we'll start filming season 2 of American Detective, which is basically a composite show. We've taken cases from around the country that got very little national attention by the media. I think people are tired of hearing about Casey Anthony and everybody else that everybody knows about, Jeffrey Dahmer. Somebody finally killed him, that idiot, so he's gone. They still talk about him. And Ted Bundy, I interviewed Ted Bundy in 1975 in the Pitkin County Jail.
Really?
Yep. 3 days before he escaped from the Pitkin County Jail. And he was always portrayed in the movies and everything else and TV shows, this articulate law student. He's a psychotic clown. And you could find that out in about 4 minutes talking to him. I was interested in him because I had a murder that I thought might match him. He was responsible for killing 36 women with brown hair parted in the middle. His mother had brown hair parted in the middle. He's always killing mom. He was absolutely nuts. I talked to that guy in a jail cell in Pitkin County for maybe 10 minutes. Then I finally said, "You know what, Ted? You're crazy. And I have better things to do with my time than sit here and talk to you. So I hope you die. Goodbye." And 3 days later he escaped. And like all people like that, their appetite increases. They become more and more violent. And when he begins, he's pretty clever. Conceals his victims, selects people at random, But then as his appetite increases, he becomes exceedingly careless. When he's arrested, he's trying to kill a woman with a hammer in front of 30 witnesses. And they fry him in Florida. And so he was electric chair. He's one of the last candidates who found out of how much he could drop the power surge in the prison.
Wow.
But yeah, so long, Ted. Anyway, these cases are about those kinds of crimes that nobody's really ever heard of. Some in small towns. People think I live in a small town, I'm safe. No, you're not. There's other humans here. And that's the problem.
And you don't normally hear about those because they are in small towns, so they don't get the press that...
They don't get the excitement level.
Right.
We need, we need movie stars killing each other. That's what the press wants.
Right.
And I didn't like that. But anyway.
So this is the second season for this show.
It is.
So that's exciting.
It's done very well, and it's internationally broadcast on streaming service. And it's very popular in India, very popular in the UK. So it's all over the place.
The Homicide Hunter was as well.
Absolutely.
All over the world. That
Yes.
show did extremely well. I loved it.
Yes.
And I love this one too. I watched them both. I love that.
It's Homicide Hunter was remarkable to me that what penetration it achieved. We had a friend who was, long story short, her husband was a minister in Pakistan, in Kashmir province, the most dangerous place on earth. Between India and Pakistan, they exchange artillery fire every morning to wake each other up. It's a terrible place. They were there for 3 years. He dies. She decides to go back and wax philosophic and see these people again. And I said, Priscilla, you better be careful. I speak the language, I know the risks, I'll be fine. Okay. So off she goes. She comes back in a month and a half, and she enjoyed seeing everybody in this village at the base of the Himalayas, or the Himalayas, as they say in England, It's literally the middle of nowhere. She had an iPhone. Now these kids, teenage girls in this village, could get Samsung phones, but they couldn't get an iPhone. Some government thing, they wouldn't let them have iPhones. But they wanted to see hers because it was an iPhone. So they're looking through her pictures. And there's a picture of she and I together. And they turn the phone and they say, "You know him?" "Well, yeah, he's a friend of mine." "You're friends with Joe Kenda?" "Yes, I am." And she said, "My status was elevated in the village because I knew you." Can you imagine that? In Pakistan, in some little out of the way.
That's crazy.
It
Remember
is
when I
remarkable.
text you at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, I was in St. Petersburg, Russia. What do you want?
I had a friend who did not believe that I knew Joe Kenda, and I said, "Watch this. Hey, Joe, I have a friend who doesn't think that I know you." And then a few minutes he came back and said, "I am in St. Petersburg, Russia." So we were, 7 hours ahead of us, and it was like 3:30 in the morning when he got the text to him. But you were very gracious and nice, and thank you. And she was very impressed that I knew him. In fact, she stalked him the last time we had lunch.
Yes.
She showed up at the restaurant. So, Karen, if you're seeing this...
Yeah, here she is again. Your main rival, Karen, you know what I mean?
She'll love that. So, you get new book.
New book. There it is. Killer Triggers, doing quite well, so good for me.
Yes.
These are a number of my cases, my murder cases, where the thought became to me is, why would someone who's reasonably normal, who has little or no criminal record, what would make them kill? What's the trigger that set this ball of violence in motion? What happened? Why did they proceed with this plan? And that's what this is about. What is the trigger in these cases? Is it revenge? Is it lust? What is it? It's something that makes somebody take that step. And that's what this is about, and that's why people find it interesting. I think a lot of people would like to know that because they want to be able to avoid that behavior. I don't want this to be me. So maybe if I know how this happened, maybe I can not do this. Let's hope they're right.
Well, I like listening. I listen to I Will Find You on an audiobook.
Yep.
Because I wanted to hear that voice
This is
telling
audio
the
also?
story. Yes, yes. So if you want to hear the storyteller here, then get it on a audiobook.
Yep, and it's that part of it's always done well. I made the New York Times bestseller list with the first audio, and I Will Find You, one step ahead of the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
So much of the Supreme Court. So yeah, it was that was kind of interesting. That it's a comment. I hear this a lot. People say, "You sound just like you do on television." Well, isn't that remarkable? I don't have another voice I install. When I'm in front of the camera, it's the same one.
No, what I am impressed about is you never have a script.
Nope. No.
You just
I
talk.
don't need one.
That's impressive.
I don't need one. When that first started, the first season of Homicide, they dropped 50 pounds of paper in my lap in California on this movie set. And I'm a new guy at that point. I'm fascinated by all the cameras and lights and wires and people and everything. And this pile of paper, what's that? That's your script. Did anyone tell you I'm a policeman? I'm not an actor. Well, you have to do this. I said, no, I have to die and pay taxes. I don't have to do this. I said, I got over playing dress up when I was 5. You should have too. That really made him mad. And I intended to make him mad. Because that would have insulted me. Because, you got to have, no, I don't. And I said, I'll tell you what. You turn that camera on, and I'll tell you about this murder for 15 minutes. You don't like what I say? Then we'll talk about this. All right. And he's angry. He wants to not like what I say. So I talked for 15 minutes to the camera, and I looked at my watch, and I said, so, what do you think? We don't need that. Let's put that away. And it's been that way ever since. There is no script. They take out the profanity. I don't know why they do that.
They do, but not out of the audiobooks.
No.
Yes.
Profanity is the language of the street. You deal with street people who are potential witnesses to criminal events. They have been kicked to the curb their entire life by society. They have. They see you as the enemy. You're one of the people that kicked them to the curb. Unless you talk like they do. Then it's different. He's one of us.
You guys speak the same language, right?
Absolutely. And I do. I can speak to any audience, no matter how little or how grand. It's the game we play, right?
Right.
That's how it is.
So you were a detective, I think, about 23 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how you went from being a detective to being a superstar.
Totally by accident. Actually, it's my wife's fault. Is how that happened.
And you've told me that she pushed you
True.
to finally make that call, right?
Absolutely. I got a letter from a guy who was a news guy initially in Colorado Springs, who I did not remember. I didn't remember his name. I didn't remember anything about him. He had interviewed me a couple of times back in the day on murder cases. He got tired of the news. He left news. He moved up in the TV world, became a producer. I'm retired from the PD, and he writes me this letter, and he says, I think you could do this program. I have a concept for a program about a homicide detective, talking about the impact on him personally and about how the case proceeds and so on. And that's my idea, and I think you're the best guy for it, so I'd like you to come to Denver, and I'll put you in front of a camera and so on. And I put it down, and Kathy said, what's that? I said, it's a letter from some guy. Says he's going to put me on TV, like that's going to happen. She said, you should call him. I'm not calling him. This went on for days. Finding peace in the family, I said to her, okay, I'll call him. And I liked him. And we just kind of hit it off a little bit. And I said, well, come to Denver. So I go to Denver. He's got a cinematographer guy, sound guy, and everything, and we're in a studio. And he says, well, okay, and I said, what do you want to talk about? And he looked at me and he said, tell me about murder. Okay. And he said, I want to hear it all. And I said, you do? And it opened the floodgates, and I told him things I never told anybody. And he was just stunned. And after 30, 40 minutes of it, I said, I stopped and I stood up and I said, is that what you had in mind? He didn't say anything. And I thought, oh, this didn't go well. So I said, let me ask you again, is that what you had in mind? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
And the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
Now, in that, the Homicide Hunter, some of those actors or players were actually people that you had worked with, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We shared the wealth.
Yeah, that's...
They loved it. They're all my guys. There are a lot of them are. Some of them are actors, but a lot of the people in that show are actual cops that worked with me in those cases.
And I think that's why it worked so well. Because
it was, they're the guys.
They all knew exactly what the storyline was.
Absolutely, there was no question. They were just repeating what we did. You know, how you arrive from it. It's the interesting, the thing we liked about it the best, and I think the people, the public liked about it. The routine thing today is soap operas. You get a beginning of a story, then you have more of the middle, and then next week more of the middle, and next month more of the middle, and next year more of the middle, and finally somebody says, are you going to kill him or what? And all right, so they finally do. All right, now that starts a whole new process of more middle of the story. Our stories were different. 1 hour. Discovery of human remains, and a courtroom, and how we got there. A beginning, a middle, and an end every week. Next week, new story. So you didn't have to agonize about, I can't watch it next week, I have to do something else. You don't need to.
Well, there was something different about this show because there are quite a few detective shows, but it was the delivery, and it was your voice, and it was the way you tell a story, because nobody else tells stories like you. I've seen you captivate an audience at the car show for over an hour, and then they were lined up around the building to meet you. So you have something very special that is not normally out there.
Well, I had a guy tell me on TV once, and I thought it was a very great compliment, but he said, you know, there are a lot of people do what you do. Some are better than others. Some are really good, but you, my friend, are lightning in a bottle.
My. And there's not too many people that don't know Joe, that don't know that my saying, because we all say it to each other. But we're going to bring Kathy in, his partner for many, many years. And you guys started on the East Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Delaware?
Nope.
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Right outside of Pittsburgh.
30 miles outside of Pittsburgh. We went to high school together.
That's right.
That was, what, 10 weeks ago? 12?
Yeah, 12.
A nurse?
A nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
graduated from Duquesne in Pittsburgh.
Right. And then went to Colorado Springs.
Yep.
I joined the PD. We raised our kids, and one thing led to another, as they say.
And both of your children are in the military, or retired now, right?
Now retired. My
Both
son's a retired commander from the Navy. Works for the Navy as a civilian. My daughter is a retired major in the Air Force, and her husband works for the military. So he was military as well, but he's a civilian for the military. And you know, but all that business happened kind of overnight, seems like.
Yeah.
And now we went from the life everyone knows, that you live in a modest home, you drive a used car, you work overtime if you can, you pay the college bills, you do what you got to do.
You write notes and stick them on the refrigerator because you don't have a cell phone anymore, and that was our cell phone, the refrigerator.
Yeah, the refrigerator. The notes are there. If you read the refrigerator, it tells you where everybody is. The way it was. And to go from that to this is kind of insane. First time she ever rode in a limousine. We're in Colorado. They send limousines to take us to the airport when I film. And I put her in my contract, so she travels with me at the network expense. So we're there at our house, and here comes this Lincoln Navigator down the driveway, and a guy in a suit bails out, opens the left rear door. looks at her and he says, "Madam." And she just stood there. And I said, "Kathy." She said, "What?" I said, "You're madam. Get in." Well, she knows she's madam now. I mean, she's had enough experience. But it's a remarkable thing to go from that, to go from normal life to this life. Really.
I'm sure.
Startling.
And a time in your life when I'm sure you weren't thinking about kicking off a new career, right?
Nope. No. They say the best job you get is the one you've never applied for. That's probably true, but it's been I was at the Beverly Hilton with Discovery for a major network event, and I had two handlers, two girls with headsets. They were taking me here and there to be on the schedule of interviews and photo opportunities and what have you. And I was thinking while they were doing that, I thought, how crazy is this? You know, Mr. Kenda, 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes. We need to walk down this hallway. Follow me, please. You know, it's like, okay. It's so weird.
What was interesting was that I knew that if I wrote the check on Wednesday evening, it wouldn't hit the bank till Friday afternoon, and it would be covered. Now I don't worry about it.
That's fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we live paycheck to paycheck.
More than once we were checking our hold card, as they say in the gambling world. Are we going to make it another month? Well, I don't know. You know, let's see. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know you then, but I don't think that you have changed much because you both are very down to earth.
No.
And very gracious.
No,
and every time I've seen you,
always.
you've gone out of your way to talk to people.
Sure.
And,
Why not?
I agree.
If you
it
don't-
doesn't always happen like that,
If
though.
you don't talk
No.
to the fans, then they won't watch the television. Therefore, the money won't come in, and I don't get to spend it.
There you go.
There
Okay.
you go.
I've met people in Hollywood. Most of people, Hollywood's like any other occupational group. Most people are nice. They are. A few people not so nice, and a few people are jerks. And that's true in any business. And and Hollywood's no different. But the people that are jerks get all the press coverage because everybody notices people that are like that, and it makes it seem like everybody is, and they're not. Any more than everybody in the NFL is a criminal, and everybody in baseball is a money-hungry guy. You know, it's not true. Not for everyone. It certainly isn't. But it is something that you do encounter, and I've encountered it, and I've said to people, "Why are you like that?" If you weren't in the movies and that person didn't like what you did in the movies, no one would know your name or care what it was. Don't treat people like that.
And then you meet people like you met Matthew McConaughey.
Who's the nicest guy in the world.
Really?
Yes. He is a great guy. He is a truly great guy. And I said, "Do I call you Matt?" He said, "No, sir. My mother said my name is Matthew." I mean, he's just a real solid guy. He
That's
is.
great.
And you meet a lot of people like that. And you meet some others, and you know, does anybody have a gun I could borrow real quick? You know, it's but yeah, it's it's like anything else. It's like anything else. But I've always been nice to people because I just have been. And people are intimidated sometimes by me because I'm not an actor. I'm a policeman. So maybe I've got a gun. Maybe I'm not too friendly. You know, they just kind of, excuse me, sir. You know, it's never just rush at me. They don't do that. And I tease them. You know, I say, "Well, that's okay. I don't bite." I said I used to bite, but people found it to be offensive, so I stopped doing it. And they laugh, you know. And it's okay. You know, it works out for them. And I hold the baby and pet the dog and pose for pictures. And
I've seen that.
as I
Give
should.
autographs.
As
Well,
I should,
he learned though, because when we first started, we were in the local mall in Colorado Springs, and this lady came up to him and got right in his face. You know, and he's talking, and he's backing up, and he said, "Take your hand out of your purse." And she's like, "What? Take your hand out of your purse?" I said, "Joe, she's just a fan. She's,
But
you
that's
know."
when it first started. Then your
That's
instinct is what's coming
The
out of that purse, a
policeman
gun?
in you, right? The detective.
What's coming out of that purse, a gun?
Yeah.
You know, oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, no, it's like,
Now he's much
but
better.
I've lost the venom. Yeah, so I'm much more friendly now than I used to be. But when it first started, I wasn't all that friendly.
I'm sure.
But I was in a non-friendly business.
And with that being said, I know that probably what you saw over 23 years had to be horrific at times.
Yep.
And maybe telling these stories, has that helped
It's been
ease the
therapeutic.
pain, if you will?
It's been therapeutic.
That's what I was...
Which is why it just poured out of me. You know, it's funny, as a policeman, and it's true of the combat soldier as well, you do something awful, and you have to stuff those emotions into a box, because you have to go do something awful again right away. There's no chance to deal with it. You do it, and it's like, okay, and now you're going to go do this.
Yeah, the
And
next
so
day
pretty
it's
soon,
back.
yeah, next hour, next 10
Right,
minutes, whatever.
right.
And the box eventually gets overfilled. And that's when people get depressed, and they get suicidal, and they get all those other things. And you become sullen, you don't want to talk to anybody, everybody's the enemy, you know, those kinds of things, which is very unhealthy for everybody involved, including for her, on the times that I was like that, because I was like that. And I finally got enough sense to think, wait a minute, you know, this isn't you. You're not like this, so stop being like this. And after I retired, it took a couple of years for me to lose that. And I was sitting at a table, and she looked at me one morning, and she said, hi. I said, in case you haven't been paying attention, I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours. You know. She said, I know, but you're the guy I married again. That was very nice.
So you saw a change.
Oh yeah, big change.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, and that was while he was in his next job after the police department, which was driving the school bus.
Mm-hmm.
The big yellow school bus.
I drove a special needs bus. I called my bus the Waldorf Hysteria, because everybody on it was nuts, including me. It was great. That's why we all got along so well. You know, me and the kids. They were wonderful. They thought I was great too.
That's fantastic.
I had a kid on my bus who was Down syndrome kid who had the best arm in the world. I called him Mariano Rivera. He could sit no matter what seat he was in, he could knock my head off with his shoe, one throw, and it'd take it clean right off my head. He was my pitcher, you know, Mariano. Amazing, nice kid. So that was a nice feeling. It was the first job I ever had where people were happy to see me, because nobody was ever happy to see me.
I bet. They are now, though.
Yeah, they are now, but they never used to be. Before it was a different deal.
I'm sure.
Because I was Darth Vader. That's a top from a Woodford Reserve bourbon barrel that they gave me in Kentucky, and they had that made with my name on it. And I said, "Where's the barrel and contents, you cheap bastards?" He just kind of looked at me. He said, "Oh my God, yeah." But that's what it is, and that's Homicide Hunters from NYPD. And those are challenge coins from the management of NYPD, chief of detectives and so on. These are old Jim Beam things, but the first car is the first police car in the United States, a 1927 Ford. Had a bulletproof windshield. No other windows were bulletproof. So you have to tell the shooter, "Wait a minute, go around to the front, please, and shoot at me from that side."
And the statue is a Michael Garman.
That's a Michael Garman statue from Colorado. A coffee cup from New Scotland Yard. You know, junk that people give me or present to me or whatever. And you come in my little office. That's when you know you've arrived. That's NASDAQ, number 4 Times Square, New York City. That's me. Right eye is a window, as it turns out.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of cool. And those are police patches and badges people give me.
Challenge coins.
Challenge coins. This one is, only about 10 of those exist. When Discovery looked at this program 10 years ago, half of the management loved it, half hated it. The CEO loved it. He said, "It's going on the air." So that was a huge success. So he had these posters made, and to all the naysayers, he made these posters and made them hang them in their office for a year. So I have one, but it's all it says on it is my mark.
So tell me where my came from. Is that just
I
something
used it in
that
interrogation.
Okay.
If you look for the first lie, I want to hear the first lie, because if you lie to me, I'm talking to the right person. Okay. So you tell me your story, which is bullshit, and that goes on for a while. You wait. So you told me what happened, but I don't remember what you said, but I do remember every word. Right? You tell me again. Of course they can't, as they lied the first time. So then you let them do that, and they say, well, my. Now 2 hours ago you said this. Now you say this. Were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or maybe you're just a liar. What do you think? That keeps them off balance.
Gotcha.
That's a piece of paper I like, because that's retirement. When he retired.
And started all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is great.
Absolutely.
This is a mess.
it's a mess. It's always
Oh,
a mess.
That's right.
Hey, a clean desk is a sign of a sick mind, I've always said.
Yes.
I had this in my office. It's a Bedard poster. 2 large caliber bullet holes in the wall. Sitting duck. That would be me.
He does the black and whites, and I do the paintings.
I do the India ink and the pencil. All those are mine.
Oh, wow.
Wow, these are fantastic. So you've done these? These are yours?
Yeah, the paintings.
Yeah.
The paintings are mine.
Wow.
This one here,
And the photography.
that's my brother's house in Maine that he had 100 years ago. I did that in India ink.
Wow.
There's a cathedral at Notre Dame. I did it in India ink. And then a ship in Boston Harbor, a 3-masted sailing ship with a crew. I did that in India ink. And a lantern and pencil. Kathy does the oil paints and the photography.
But that's the castle in Ireland.
Well, that's
Outstanding.
And a friend of ours gave us that.
so that's a Leroy Neiman. And he sent it to me. He said, I have nice things. You should have nice things.
We have had a great time here with Lieutenant Joe Kenda and also Kathy. We're here with Jeanette Robinson. I'm Dr. Mark with US 1061. We definitely want to say thank you for everybody for watching, but we got a couple of other things. So I'm going to ask the commissar.
Yes, of course. Yes.
I want to ask the commissar about some of his numbers because I've seen them online, but I want you guys to just get an idea of what he's done in his period of time that he's been working.
I wear the Soviet Army hat when I'm tending bar, and if you walk up to the bar and order a drink, I look at you very seriously and say, "Your papers are not in order," just to see what kind of reaction I get. Sometimes we go, "Oh my God!" Yeah. When I worked, what he's referring to is I was responsible for either personally responsible or oversaw 387 homicide investigations in my tenure in the police department. I solved 356 of those by arrest, which is a clearance rate of 92%. The national average runs between 50 and 60%. It's a little higher than that. It's not that I'm smarter, I'm more determined. I won't give up. 31 of those cases remained unsolved. We have now solved 3 of the 31 due to advances in DNA technology that didn't exist at the time.
One's going to court
And one's going to court, in fact, this month.
this month.
Wow.
First degree murder, one of my cases. So I'm down to 28. I think about those all the time. You don't get them all, but you'd sure like to. So I have a good history, and to my knowledge, it's a national record that still stands.
That's outstanding. I mean,
It
that's
is.
serious
It's
stuff. We
Yes.
want to run back around again to the book. Let's show us the book again.
And there it is.
So again,
Available and soon to be available in paperback, and it's an audiobook and an e-book and
It's
every other
fantastic.
kind of book, and of course the hardcover.
Killer Trigger. And then
Yes.
also season 2 of
American Detective with Lieutenant Joe Kenda, which will be on Discovery Plus, the streaming service. Probably next year. We start filming here the end of June. It takes a while to do this. It's not something you just do overnight. So probably 6 months or so just to make them. There'll be 12 new episodes come out of season 2.
There you go. And if you can't wait, remember, in November, he's going to be at the Coastal Virginia Auto Show. He's going to be up there. You do about an hour up on stage?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or longer if you wish.
Uh-huh.
And I get to come too.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
So again, classic cars, custom cars, unique things, and Lieutenant Joe Kenda is going to be there also. So it's definitely the Coastal Virginia Auto Show. We work very hard on putting something fabulous together, and Joe Kenda is kind of the icing on the cake, and we appreciate the time that we've been able to spend here. Jeanette, any parting words for us?
This has been fantastic. I've been a fan for so many years, and he is just the coolest guy ever. So come on out to the car show on Saturday. Make sure you see him, meet and greet, and he will take the time to say hello, autograph every person who's waiting in line. And I think it was like 2 or 3 hours the last time. So
Yeah, it's whatever it takes.
yes. So we appreciate what he does, and we're very grateful to be here, Kathy. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you to you guys for watching. And we're going to give a plug to our on-the-road sponsors, which is Audio One. We thank you guys for sending us out here. We're really out here for ourselves, but Audio One helped us to get here. So
Yes,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much
There
for
you go.
that.
Good for you.
Yay.
All right, so we'll see you all soon on the road, guys. We appreciate your time. Have a great one.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. All right, bye. Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Mark with US 1061. We want you all to come out to the Coastal Virginia Auto Show. We're going to be packed filled with awesome celebrities, including Lieutenant Joe Kenda. He's your homicide hunter. And he also has a new series out there called American Detective. He will be up on stage telling some of his great stories in the manner that he does. So check him out on Saturday, November the 13th. And if you stick around, you'll be able to possibly get an autograph and maybe a photo with Lieutenant Joe Kenda. He'll also be speaking on his previous books that he's had, so be sure to bring a book out, and maybe he'll be able to sign one of those books for you. So be sure to check us out on the Coastal Virginia Auto Show, cvautoshow.com, cvautoshow.com.